Welcome to another episode of the Average Joe Sports Podcast. As always, this is your host Don in Los Angeles. I got my boy Albert with me in Sacramento, California. What's up, man? How you doing?
What's up, brother? I'm doing good, man. I've been a little in between time between my last podcast and now. Um, just chilling, man. Don't worry, people. I was chilling, just kind of soaking up all the good sports, kind of enjoying the good weather. But I'm back. I'm ready to provide some great content to our people, to the world. Talk sports, talk with you. It's been a while since we caught up, so let's start
Right
turning the
on.
gears, maybe. Let's start turning the gears.
Right on. As always, listeners, thank you for tuning in, whether it's on YouTube or audio only on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or any other audio streams. As always, if you're watching on YouTube, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. It definitely helps with us and helps with the algorithms in terms of sharing our content out there. And that's what we want to do. We want to get our content in front of the masses. So thank you guys for your support. And without further ado, today's special is our NFL
Yes,
draft.
sir.
Obviously, we have the NFL draft coming up this Thursday. Starts as far as day one, round one. Everybody's always excited for round one. So that begins this week. So definitely want to lead into an exclusive NFL draft preview today. So without further ado, let's get started. We're pretty excited for our real teams and excited to share our thoughts on the whole draft process. So we're going to start off with Albert. Going to ask you, present the question: what is the strongest position in the NFL draft, in your opinion, going into this week's draft?
I think it's got to be either the wide receivers or the edge class. And that's kind of been a trend of how a lot of drafts been going. A lot of strong wide receiver class. And how I don't know why that's happening. I kind of have a reason to. The kids growing up, they do a lot of 7-on-7 drills, a lot of flag football, where it's just receivers, quarterbacks, corners. And that's where people
Right.
just do all their skills with. Um, so with the receiver class, I like it. Usually it's probably about 1 to 14 deep where you could find some starters. But this class goes 16, 17 deep in the top 100. Uh,
Right.
I kind of find that same type of depth into the edge class too. If you get starters, it's probably usually 4 to 5 starters go in the first round for our receivers, but you could find starters into the second or third round between Christian Watson, Alec Pierce, um, even smaller guys like Calvin Austin. There's value to be had. You don't have to spend like a top 10 pick and get a Jameson Williams or a Treylon Burks. You could wait a little bit. Say for a team like the Jets, you don't want to spend a fourth and a 10th. You don't have to do that. Wait until maybe your early third or your second, and trade back a bit and get a better value at a receiver because, like we talked about before, there's always value to be had with receivers in the second round. Deebo, DK, AJ Brown, those are top 10 receivers in the league that were picked
Right.
second round.
Right.
So I think that's the strongest position in the draft. Our receivers and the edge too. It's not a top heavy edge class, but a lot of depth. Um, what do you got? What do you got for the best position
Yeah.
skills?
I honestly, I piggyback kind of to your sentiment. Right. Obviously, receivers pretty strong here. You've got some mid first rounders, probably some guys that might go in the late top 10. Probably not the I don't want to say there aren't any game changers because there certainly are. There's a lot of receivers, but maybe not that top guy in this year's draft. But certainly can see there's a wide range of receivers that you can get, from round one all the way to round 7. So definitely deep at that position. I also
Yeah,
piggybacking off your edge, obviously you got your top guys at Aiden Hutchinson, came on from Oregon. You got Trayvon Walker from Georgia. You got some solid guys on the edge, and there's some depth that you can get, in the later rounds as well. And then also the safety position, right? Obviously, you have your high guy in Kyle Hamilton in Notre Dame that's going to lead the group, right? He's, I've seen him mock draft as early as number 2. Well, I have him probably a little bit later on in the draft, but nonetheless, safety position is pretty deep there. Lewis Klein from Georgia is something that might get called on day 1 as well. And then Jaquan Brisker, Penn State, guys that are going to probably
Jaquan
start off day
Brisker.
2. He's got a
Yeah, I
guy
like
that
that guy,
probably
man.
can. Jaquan Brisker, Nick Cross, guys that might get their name called maybe end of day 1, early day 2. So definitely deeper at the safety position. I like that as well.
Yeah,
Um,
there's definitely a lot, like probably 5 to 6 starters you can get in the safety class. Daxton Hill's another guy too out of Michigan. There's, but the thing is with safety, some of them they're listed as safeties, but they'll like Daxton Hill. He could play nickel. Like it's weird how he can list him as
They're
something, but
interchangeable.
going into the NFL, yeah, which is great. That's what you need. Like Jimmy Ward, the Niners safety, he's played nickel before. He was a corner. I think he got drafted as a corner, and now he's a safety with the Niners. So
Right.
I love versatility in the backfield, in the defensive backfield. So that's a little cool quirk you can see with
Yeah,
the college
absolutely.
game.
It always adding value with these guys that are, add versatility as you just mentioned, right? Then before we get into weaker position, another kind of tidbit is interior line is pretty strong as well. If you're looking for center guard position, this might be your draft. You have obviously at the top of the draft, you have Tyler Linderbaum from Iowa, who is also kind of a guy like Kyle Hamilton. I've seen early some guys started with him in the top 5, top 10. So we'll see there. And then you have obviously a Kenyon Green from Texas A&M. Some definitely if you want to add meat to your O line, this might be the draft for you. Kind of segueing, I'll start off in weaker positions in this draft. Probably my number one in terms of weaker positions, which kind of hurts me as a Cowboys fan because it's something that we need. It's probably interior D line. Interior D line, you have the Jordan Davises of the world, pretty much Georgia, right? The tandem and Georgia and Jordan Davis and Devontae Wyatt, two beef guys in the middle that and a Jordan Davis who's obviously he performed very well at the combine. He obviously increases or enhances draft stock. But again, he's not a guy that's expected to go probably in the top 10, probably, in the teens and 20s as well. And it's not too deep after that. So if you're looking for interior D line, you're going to be few and far between. And also there's not too much depth behind them in terms of value. So that's a position that I find fairly weak. Obviously, we know why. We know that the quarterback position is fairly weak this year in terms of top tier talent. There's guys like Malik Willis,
Yeah,
and other guys that are flirting with, depending on who you talk to and true need, they might go in the top 10, top half of the draft in terms of first round. Really, they should be going, later day one, day two guys. So the quarterback position is not, up to par, right? I think we put up a post in the page a few weeks ago, basically saying that the last time it was early 2000s when EJ Manuel, I mean, in terms of a quarterback not being selected in the top 15. So that's what I have in weaker position. What position do you see as weaker in this year's draft?
like you mentioned the quarterbacks, but I want to focus on is the running backs. Like there is just one day one starter in the draft this year, and that's Bryce Hall. I think is a definitely no brainer first rounder. Plug him in, and he's just a great prospect. He's probably I don't want like a little bit younger Najee Harris. I think he's going to add great value. I don't think he'll go between like 15 and 20 like Najee did. I
Right,
think he'll land with even maybe 25 to 30, which is great for him. If you get a team that's actually winning and going to the playoffs, to add that player to their squad, like the Bucks or the Bills or the Cardinals, if they want to running back, that's a good spot for him.
right.
But
Yeah, I think.
besides
Yep.
him, there's only maybe 2 other second round running backs. We got Brian Robinson and no, sorry, Kenneth Walker and Isaiah Spiller. And you could say they should better off falling into the third round. Kenneth Walker is more of like your traditional running back. Isaiah Spiller is more of like your Kenneth Gainwell, kind of a split, like third down running back. But
Right,
besides
right.
that,
Yeah, yeah.
man, I only got 3 or 4 running backs that make in the top 100 prospects.
Right,
It's not the best running back class, and it sucks because running backs get chewed out fast in the NFL. A lot of people look to move on after running backs after the age 25 to 26 season. Um,
right.
but yeah, that's how that's looking like. I mean, I love me some Hall, but besides that, man, there's James Cook too, the fourth or fifth. I'll talk about him later on in the podcast. But running back, not the hottest group this year.
Right. And before we move on to the next segment, I want to present a question to you. Obviously, running back is fairly weak, and would you think that that's more attributed to our way of thinking because of the value of the running back position in terms of draft capital? It just isn't there, and each year it goes away, or is it just truly an evaluation of their production? or is it one and one? Is it both?
Yeah,
Uh,
it could be a little bit of that, but I just don't like see. I know next year, Bijan Robinson out of Texas, he's going to be a top boy. He'll definitely go top 15 next year. But like it's not just the devaluation of, or did I say that
yeah,
right? Devaluation
yeah, I do evaluation.
of running backs in the league and people wanting to get them later in the draft because they get spit out sooner. You're just not enough talent right now. I don't know. Just this year,
Right.
going like last
Okay.
year, who do we have? We had Najee Harris, and we had who's the second running back?
Najee Harris.
This Broncos guy,
Javante
Javante.
Williams. Yep, Javante Williams, of course.
Yeah, like those are two guys that are pretty much Bryce Hall's kind of up there with Najee, but Javante is way better than Kenneth Walker or Isaiah
Right.
Spiller. It's just a down year.
Okay.
Maybe some of the running backs, like I was talking about in seven versus sevens, maybe some of the running backs are deciding to play fucking slot receiver or like receiver instead of running back. I mean,
Right.
they don't get paid top money. Like if you're smart, you tell your kid, hey, play receiver or something like that. Like there's no reason to play running back annianymore. Like it used to
Right.
be a valued position, but like why should you? You get beat up like a dog. You don't get paid top dollar compared to
Right.
other positions. Um, just not a glamorous position anymore. It's unfortunate
Yeah.
because running backs are important, but
Yeah. I would love to see how they're being used, even all the way down to like the Pop Warner level and to like the high school level. Like, I don't know about you, but when I played, high school ball, it was more or less we're running the ball 85% of the time, 80% of the time, right? So maybe across the board, this is something
the
that's
wing T.
yeah. That's what we ran. And so maybe this is being disseminated, passed down
Yeah.
all the way down to like Pop Warner. It's like, hey, running back, what the hell? Now we're airing it out. We're airing it out at like 7 years old. Like, fuck it, we're gonna air it out. The running back position, we're gonna line him up everywhere. He's not just gonna be your typical running back that's gonna hand it off. Go to the 3 hole, 5 hole, whatever the case may be. So, yeah, interesting to see. Obviously, a weaker draft for those positions.
Yeah.
Transitioning into best value round. Obviously, everybody's real gun ho, real the sexy first round. They won.
The
That's
whole
what typically
night
what everybody
dedicated to this
watches.
one.
But what round do you like when your team's drafting? Those are the picks that you really look into to see how we can get some true value.
I love me the second or third round, but I'll talk about the second round. Usually GMs they have about 1 to 20-ish first round prospects. And so usually between 22, 30, you're in no man's land. That's why you see it like a team like the Seahawks. They used to trade back all the time and trade back because they could just get their same prospect that, or New England Patriots, they are able to get that same prospect that they're aiming for in that range in the early second. And teams are like, if you want a quarterback, you could trade up into the first and get that 5th-year option for a quarterback or a receiver or something like that. So I think that most movement happens early in the second. You go into Friday after Thursday night, your whole board is reset. You're able to make some more calls. Gyms are a lot more thirsty. It's a lot more clear picture. Like Thursday, you don't got a full picture. You can have some ideas, but going into Friday night, a lot clearer picture. You got your top targets, a lot more movement, and people are willing to take bigger swings. I think in the second, you kind of play it safe in the first a little bit, kind of stay with consensus almost. There's some GMs that reach a bit, but second round you can a lot more movement, which is I love trades. Big
Absolutely.
horny guy for trades.
Horny.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, so second round, man, you could get a lot of talent that skips out of the first. You get the injured guys, the guys that had ACLs, the guys that maybe had off-field problems that should have been first rounders slipping into the second. And a lot of value to be
Right.
had there.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm right there with you. I think it's position specific, but in terms of answer this question vaguely, I love second round. As you mentioned, like a lot of GMs, they have their top 20, whatever, top 25 guys. If it's not there, they usually the good GMs trade back. They have a sense of patience, and they'll trade back and get the next tier in which they can get it later on in the draft. But like you said, the guys that have controversy, Leo Collins, for example, the Cowboys, he had some issues in terms of legal issues. in which the Cowboys did their due diligence and ended up getting him in the second. Or I mean, he went undrafted. But the point is that you can go and you can find guys that have character issues or injury issues or whatever the case may be in the later rounds, and find some true value. We mentioned earlier in the receiver position, Deebo Samuel, Devontae Adams, and the list goes on in terms of receivers drafted in the second round. And for the running backs too, you got Le'Veon Bell out of Michigan State. You've got a lot of running backs as well that you found some true value in the second round. So that's the round I like. Moving on.
I'll say one thing. If you are a team that wants to draft a quarterback in the second round, do not do it. Do not do it unless you want that quarterback to be a backup, because there's no value to be had for a quarterback in the second round. Absolutely none. Your best case scenario would be Derek Carr or Jimmy Garoppolo. So you got to trade up in the top 15 to get your quarterback. And don't tell your team, hey, we'll get some value at 1 through 15 and 10 for we'll pick something there, and then we'll just get one of the quarterbacks that fall to us the second round. Don't do it. That is not going to be healthy for the team development. Right. But if you just need like the Bucs last year, I think they had Tom Brady and they ended up, even though I don't like that pick either.
Kyle Trask.
I forgot who.
Kyle Trask.
Florida.
Kyle Trask.
That was a terrible pick too. But if that's the situation, I could kind of justify it, even though they should have got like a fucking running back or something in the second round. But that's something else. But yeah, do not pick a quarterback in the second round. Pick anything else though.
For sure. If you're gonna get a quarterback, typically it's gonna be in the first round. Or if you're looking for, I guess, depth, as you mentioned later on in the draft. Moving on, obviously next year, the quarterback position is fairly weak in this year, as we've mentioned. Next year we've got some studs, right? We got potentially some studs in C.J. Stroud. We'll see. We got DJ out of Clemson that a lot of people don't really talk about. Seem like all they talk about is Stroud and Bryce Young, but certainly at least a top three there brewing, and other quarterbacks that might emerge as well. The Joe Burrows of the world that have just an epic amount of production. So with that being said, with the Bryce Youngs, with DJ from Clemson or CJ Stroud from Ohio State, how do you see that impacting this year's draft? It at all? I guess I'll start this one. The way I see it is that obviously you have a team like the Jets that have 2 picks. I think they have the 4th and the 10th pick, and you have a lot of teams that are in the top 10. You have that need quarterbacks, quite frankly. You have the Texans that clearly, I don't care what anybody says. If there's a top top quarterback, you're going to be picking him. I don't care what Dave Mills or whatever his name is. I don't care what he did last year. I'm still picking a top 2 quarterback. Jets, I don't think they're sold on Luke Wilson. I don't think they're sold on him at all. And then you have the Giants. They're probably not sold on Daniel Jones. I think if there's a top tier guy, they'd be there. Panthers, Falcons, the list goes on. So I say this to say that a lot of these prospects, they're benefiting from the quarterback position not being, there. Obviously, there's guys that typically would be picked in the teams, right? That are going to be picked in the top. A guy like Kyle Hamilton that's been flirted with, number 2 overall, or a Tyler Linderbaum, interior lineman. These guys are benefiting from the quarterback class. But a team like the Jets, do you see them trading back potentially, or do you think they need to get 2 starters, trading back and trying to use that capital for next year?
No, I think they got to be invested into Zach Wilson at least another year before we even think about picking. We'll see how this year plays out, and if they happen to be bottom 5, and then we'll start thinking about that scenario. But I think number 10 is a good spot to trade back and get that ammunition, like the Eagles did, to make that decision again next year. That's what I would do. Maybe trade like 10 into the 16th, get another, or 10 to 21st, 22nd, get another first, and then you're able to make that decision again. If Zach Wilson's shit and he's not good enough, you can able to jump a team or 2 and make that grab for Stroud or the Alabama guy, or even Spencer Rattler if he makes a comeback season.
Yeah. Right.
It's funny because this season, all the quarterbacks were able to push down all the prospects like Kyle Pitts, Jamar Chase. They're able to push down those generational talents, and they just thrive off of that. Now it's the other way around. You got all of these other guys jump in the quarterbacks and kind of
Right.
just
Yeah, it's different. It's not something
earning
that we're
better
used
contract
to.
because of the quarterbacks can push down. But I just don't see teams force like how your question was. I just don't see teams forcing the issue at quarterback this year. Teams like the Lions, the Giants, Washington football team, they have starters in place, but it's not going to be like the Arizona Cardinals situation where you have Josh Rosen who just picked top 10 or whatever, and they have a generational talent, and it's like, say, I got to fucking do it. He's there. They're just not going to
Right.
force the issue. I think Cardinals kind of forced the issue. It was a good choice for them. But teams like that, they're able to be like, you know what? I'll take Kayvon Thibodeau. I'll take Derek Stingley, and I'll wait till next year and see how the season plays out. And if I get a top 5 pick, I'll be in position again. But I think able to thrive in that position, you got to trade back and get a little bit more ammo because that's the way you can gun for a quarterback if you just have a little bit more ammo and you can jump a spot or two like the Eagles have.
Perfect. Yeah,
But yeah,
correction.
Good class. Oh, so
Yeah, correction. It is Zach Wilson, not Luke Wilson. I mentioned Luke Wilson earlier.
Who is Luke Wilson?
Luke Wilson. I think Luke Wilson. No, that's Owen Wilson. I was about to say, is that the actor? I think
The
Luke
actor.
Wilson was. Yeah, I don't. I think Luke Wilson is actually his brother, Owen Wilson's brother.
The tight end for the Seahawks, is that Luke Wilson? Old tight end for the Seahawks.
Shit. Luke something. Fuck. Luke Skywalker? No.
No.
No. So let's go on to best offensive and defensive players. I'll let you start off with offense, and I'll start off with defense. Who do you got for your best offensive player in this year's draft?
I mentioned this earlier when we were talking about the depth of the class, but Bryce Hall, I think he's a stud. He's going to go into a good landing spot, which is ideal for him. He's not going to go to a shitty team that's going to run to the ground. I hope he goes with like a Josh Allen that he'll complement well with, or Tom Brady if they don't want to take a load off of Fournette, or what's his face, Kyler Murray. Like they can have that. He's a good back man. He can do it all.
Right.
Just a baller, and he's still pretty young. I think he'll be able to just ball out in the next couple of years, and he's gonna be. I'll take him. No, yeah, never mind.
Yeah, we'll get there. We'll get there. We can leave some time there. Yeah.
But
okay.
Best defensive guy I can see the next 3 years. You know, I was all about.
You caught you cheat. I was gonna say Sauce. Go ahead.
Well,
who you got?
No, not Sauce Gardner, but I'm going with my other young cornerback, Derek Stingley out of LSU. Dude's a baller. He balled out his freshman year in the SEC, the hardest fucking division in college football, locking down a lot of SEC receivers. And you have all those Alabama receivers, all those Georgia receivers, and he was legit. Right. And then he was hurt his sophomore year, came back this year, and was kind of clocked out. I feel like he was just like, you know what? Whatever. I'm in the draft. We'll deal with it when it gets there. And now people are a little down on him. I feel like he's getting a lot more steam going into the draft. He might go in front of Ahmad, but I don't know. Sauce is really, really good, so I don't know if that will happen. He's a little more proven. But Derek Stingley, man, 20 years old. He probably, I think he'll be 21 when the season starts, and I just see him having like a type of Denzel Ward type of career going forward. I think the kid's a baller.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely see that, right? Obviously, I see the same thing. He seemed like he was kind of checked out on his return. A lot of his analysis or the tape on him, the great tape is from 2020 and beyond, right, or before. And so my offensive guy,
yeah.
I got to go with USC. I got to go with Drake London. Obviously, I didn't watch a ton of college football, but what I did, I love watching my team. Drake London was just nasty in terms of raw talent and to match production. I mean, this dude obviously he's got the size. Like he's 6'4", 6'5", 220. I think he led the league or led the conference rather in contested catches. I don't know if it's FBS or if it's conference, but led the in contested catches. So the dude, he's got some speed on him for his size. He's a guy that you can throw it up kind of randomly, throw it up to him, and he'll get to it. Not to that tune, but just to give you a picture of what he's capable of. I'm hoping that he gets drafted into the right position. We've seen recent USC receivers had some level of success. So hopefully he can kind of continue and develop some more momentum for USC alumni. So I like Drake London, and then of course defensively I like Sauce Gardner. I'm in the sauce. I've ate the sauce. I'm interested. I know you're pounding the pavement early on, but
Love me some sauce.
And my issue with him is what probably a lot of people are. Obviously, you watch the film, he's great, right? He's hip fluidity. I mean, he's just great. He can close the gap pretty quickly. He's got size. I believe he's 6'3". I mean, he's just great and all that. But the main issue is talent, right? He's in South Carolina. He's not playing. He's not LSU, right? He's not playing Alabama every year, where he's got Alabama's got all these damn receivers in the SEC. He's playing. They play Florida, played other teams, but he's not playing that elite talent. He's not. He didn't go to the playoffs, obviously, so he did not match it up against Ohio State and whatnot. But I mean, since he's been a true freshman,
he did.
What's that?
They made the Final Four last year. They got smoked though.
South Carolina,
Cincinnati, right?
Oh, sorry.
Never mind, I'm tripping.
Yeah, I was like South Carolina.
Wait, stop. Am I tripping? Isn't Sauce on Cincinnati?
Sorry, yeah, you're right. You're right. My bad. Yeah, Cincinnati. Yeah. So I've got it mixed up. But nevertheless, the same thing. The talent in terms of his opponents just isn't quite there compared to his contemporaries, right?
No.
But the true
Big East or whatever it is.
Yeah, but since as a true freshman, I mean, he stepped in since day one, and and not even that. I think one of the biggest things with the cornerback position, because it's arguably the hardest position to transition or get into in terms of transitioning from college to NFL, right? Just transferring that success you have is confidence, and this guy does not lack any confidence. He's a guy that he wants every week in and week out. I want the other team's number one. I don't want to stay around. I want to follow him around. And he's got the talent. He's got the size to match up with pretty much anyone. So that's my guy.
That's what you need at cornerback. The cornerback and wide receiver, you just need someone that oozes fucking confidence and just swagger. And I remember talking about that months ago. It's hard. I just don't imagine. I can't picture him being bad with that much confidence. Right. How many bad players do you know that just has that much confidence?
Eli Apple.
Maybe it's because they have confidence and yeah, right. Was he like that? I remember him coming out of the
I'm just giving a hard time because everybody just kills Eli Apple. He's a scapegoat.
Yeah.
But
he is, yeah. But the guy's he's got swag, man. It's hard to be bad with that much confidence and swagger, man. He's just a cool motherfucker to root for.
Right, absolutely. So with that being said, I'm going to start off with our overhyped players, and then I'll let you start off with yours, and then we'll go to underrated players as well in the draft. I think overhyped players, this kind of goes to the quarterback position. Obviously, he's not going number one overall, but I just seen some drafts or some mock drafts that have had him in the top half of the first round, and I just don't like it. I don't see it, and that's Malik Willis. I don't like it. I think he's got that that confidence, I guess, if you will, in terms of that we just talked about in terms of Sauce Gardner, and I think he can make a lot of great throws. I think that's the thing. He's got star power. He can make a lot of great throws. He can probably, in theory, make almost every throw. But I do have some concerns in terms of game-to-game performance and whether he can consistently make that NFL throw. Also, he's not that big. I believe he's 6'6", 6'1" tops. There's just a lot of red flags in terms of he played at a smaller school. Can he make all the NFL throws from all the full complement of throws? Can he make them on a consistent basis? Because he hasn't shown that even in college. It's one of those. And if I can put him in terms of his performance into one fantasy football player, Tyler Lockett. That's exactly who I look at. A guy who's kind of boomer bust, and not just in terms of long-term prospects, but also just game-to-game basis. You just don't know what you're going to get. I have some serious concerns with him, and it does scare me that he's at the quarterback position that can be overhyped and can get him paid in terms of driving him down or up rather in the draft stock. So that's my overhype. Who do you have?
Yeah. Overhyped. I like him as a prospect, but how he's getting talked about potentially going number 1 and number 2 is Trayvon Walker. Great height, weight, speed guy. Didn't have a crazy amount of production at SEC. I know he played at Georgia, so he's going against like the best of the best. But I just didn't. I remember watching him in the playoffs, and like, I mean, Georgia's on TV a lot. I'm in California. It's not like I get the local games or anything. I watched Georgia, and he didn't pop out that much to me. I know he didn't get like enough production or time into like what the NFL is going to put him to be. He wasn't like a every down every down linebacker, so he didn't get all of what he could out of him. But I like him maybe like 5 to 15, but 1, 2, or 3. That's harsh. But I mean, Trent Baalke, he's the Jaguars GM, and he chases those type of players. So like Aldon Smith, he was that type of guy, and same guy, Missouri. He didn't have a lot of production. He was a lengthy, tall, fast motherfucker, and Aldon Smith probably had the best 3 seasons out of any outside linebacker ever. He was beating Von Miller out the gate, crushing Von Miller out the gate, and then all that shit happened. But whatever. But Trayvon Walker, PFF number of pass rushes higher than +1. Aiden Hutchinson has 67. Trayvon Walker has 8. That's PFF. That's not me. It's not my grade, but just some little stats out there. And then I saw somewhere that he has probably the highest. How do I say this? Highest snap to sack time in college football. So he doesn't sack the quarterback really quick. It takes a while till he'll find a quarterback. So he doesn't have the quickest snap to sack time. So it's like exactly, yeah, a lot of running around, kind of fucking stumble upon him and stuff like that. So like, give me someone that could just boom, 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 bam, sack just like that. You see how I did that? Bam, bam, bam.
Absolutely, yeah. No, I get you, and then it's hard to evaluate these guys that have other guys on the line that have a the same clout, right?
Yeah,
you guys,
we got Devontae Wyatt.
Yeah, you got the other interior linemen as well that kind of steal from probably the shine as well. So it's like one end of the spectrum. It's like, okay, they're probably taking some sacks away, they're probably taking some pressures away, whatever the case would be. And then the other end, it's like, okay, how good are you when you've had this type of level of support? So
yeah, for some reason, he kind of reminds me of Solomon Thomas, even though Solomon Thomas was more inside, how he got steam late, really, really late. Solomon Thomas, but his biggest problem, he was an in-betweener. They didn't know whether to put him inside or outside. He just was lost in the line. I don't think that would be Trayvon Walker's issue. A lot of steam late. He has great tools. I love him as a prospect, but 1, 2, that's hard. That's big. But you gotta take swings. Like I've always said, you gotta take big swings in the first round. So fuck it.
Who do you got as your underrated guy? Who's your underrated?
Underrated. Perion Winfrey, Senior Bowl MVP, out of Oklahoma, edge, fast as shit, or not fast as shit, strong as shit, and pretty quick. If you look at the, I was trying to look this up before the pod started. If you look at the Senior Bowl MVPs in the past few years, they're pretty good players. You got Phillip Rivers, LaDainian Tomlinson. Deebo was a guy that stood out a lot. I'm not sure if he's MVP. A lot of ballers at the Senior Bowl, which is weird because if you're Senior Bowl, you're a little older, and usually prospects don't match up with age and productivity. But in some cases, there are actually good players that are just ball out. But yeah, Perion Winfrey, he'll be there 4th, 5th round. As player, I like his talent. Baller.
Yeah. I'm going to stick with kind of the first round, a guy that I feel that should be even higher up. Obviously, he's not, he's in the first round projected, but I love me some Devin Lloyd out of Utah. I think he's just a full package. I think he's some, Three down. I think he's obviously he's a little older, as you mentioned. We're talking about older guys, but he's just someone that just has a nose for the ball. He's just everywhere. He has a complete package, and there's really not a lot of weaknesses in his game. I mean, across the board in terms of attributes, he kind of fills them up all the way across the board. I think a lot of these edge guys and edge is probably one of those, like, it's kind of like the quarterback position in terms of, like, they get a little bit overhyped, right? Because you can understand how, they can make or break your defense, right? But I feel like some of these edge rushers get kind of overhyped a little bit to a certain extent. And then the linebacker, or the traditional three down linebacker, is kind of like the running back position. It's kind of been devalued. You've really got to pop in terms of draft being a high draft capital, draft stock. So I like Devin Lloyd. I'd love to see where he's going to be at. I'd love to see him, input into an already great defense, so that he can just kind of run wild and have some fun. But he's a guy that I could definitely see leading his team in tackles, kind of right off the rip, kind of like a Equal Alonso or something of that nature. So
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
yeah, that's my underrated guy. Number 7 we have is Deebo Samuel. I know you've been chomping at the bit. This kind of be your area if you want to talk about. Obviously, if you guys didn't know, Albert is the San Francisco 49er fan through and through. And the rumors have been swirling. Deebo does not want to fucking be in San Fran any longer. And that's, obviously you've seen the snippet of the club scene millions of times probably by now, where, they show and they have the waitress going around saying, "Hey, Deebo's staying," and this motherfucker is so petty where he's like, "Nah, I'm not staying." So one,
I heard that was like to the girl that was bringing the bottle over. But either way, it's like
yeah,
it is what it is. What do you
yeah,
think?
yeah, yeah, yeah. I was gonna say, for one, what is the percentage of him leaving,
Oh,
him being traded, and then what do you see? What type of package do you see? What team?
I say 70% he's staying, 30% he's leaving. If he's not traded by Thursday night, but when draft first after the first, because he might get traded Friday for a pair of second rounders. If he's not traded by Friday afternoon, it's more like 90-10. He's staying. The Niners, I don't care what you say. He's under rookie contract. He hasn't made a ton of money yet because he's a second rounder, so he can't hold out. And once you hold out, you're withholding money from yourself and possibly even getting fined. The guy with like Le'Veon Bell, he was a veteran and he held out, but he already made a good chunk of money. And once he held out and didn't go play that season, he was able to be a free agent the next season. The thing with rookies, if you're a rookie under contract, that season doesn't happen.
Yeah, it
So if you
doesn't
hold
count.
out this season, say worst case scenario, he's still got to be still under a rookie contract one more year. He's got to actually fucking play. So I don't see how the Niners would be unless his heels are dug in and it's just like, you know what, I'm never gonna play for you fucking guys again. That's not gonna happen. Fucking trade me. I'm never gonna show up. But
Yeah,
I mean, there's been 2 instances in the past few years with Niner players wanting trades. Raheem Mostert, when he was a gunner for the 49ers, he wasn't a running back yet. He did running back like minimally, and he did really good. And that's why he's like, "Hey, stop paying me for special teams. I'm a running back." And he
right.
requested a trade. I remember seeing that. And then the next thing you know, a week later, they signed him to a good running back deal. Second player was Robbie Gould. Robbie Gould, the kicker, he wanted to be
God,
traded. Kind of the same reason because there's rumors of fucking Deebo not wanting to play in California, and he
right.
Robbie Gould wanted to play in Chicago where he's from for the Bears. Next thing you know, I think they franchise tagged him maybe, and then he played. He got
Gold, yeah.
a good contract. Um, yeah, so there's 2 instances. It's they're I'm not like freaking out. Yeah, it sucks, and I don't see why he's doing this because he liked Kyle Shanahan. He liked the position he was playing. There was rumors of him not liking what he was being like, what he was asked to do, but he coined the phrase "fucking wide back." He embraced it. He wanted the ball in his hands in clutch situations. But now he doesn't like what he's being asked to do. And why all of a sudden, when does a player decide how a coach uses them? Like imagine Zeke going to like, hey McCarthy, hey, don't split me out wide. Like I'm a running back. Like it's
Yeah,
weird. That's a little red flag. Like when is that a thing? When is that a thing? Um,
yeah, yeah,
so I am getting a little tired of Deebo and his theatrics. It's it's a lot worrisome. It's not a little worrisome.
yeah.
Um,
I mean, he's the best player on the team. I mean, at
oh
least
yeah,
for sure, he's the
he
best player on the team. So,
he carried the Niners into the playoffs.
so
He didn't carry the Niners. He carried Jimmy Garoppolo's led offense. I'll say that he carried Jimmy Garoppolo's led offense into the playoffs.
right.
That's one of the best football performances you'll see to end a season. Like he was dominant,
Yeah, it was good. And we'll
dominant.
see. We'll see what
Um,
happens with Deebo. Obviously, I mean, John Lynch is out there saying that we're going to keep him. And then he said, unless we get a big deal, a huge deal, we can't refuse. He's looking for 2 first
I think
rounds. I don't know what he's smoking, but
I think he asked me real quick, but two scenarios I see is Jets. They're thirsty for a receiver. They asked for Tyreek. They asked for DK. They got the 10 and the 35 and 38. I can see the 10 and 38 next year's second. Maybe 35, 38 next year's first. It's going to be a big haul. I might sound like I'm tripping, like, oh, that's more than Devontae and Tyreek. The Niners do not need to trade them. They don't want to trade them. So it's going to take not what's fair, but what lets the 49ers say, yeah, fuck it. All right, get them off our hands. And then the Texans. There's a lot of rumors of the Texans, too. They need a big splash. They have a rookie quarterback. He plays like Jimmy Garoppolo. And maybe the Lions, too. So it seems like that will probably guys that don't have the biggest contracts that need like weapons and a spark to their franchise.
right,
Will get Deebo Samuel.
right. So let's skip ahead to we're at the 40-minute mark. Let's skip ahead to teams that should trade up and down. And I'm just going to speak pretty quickly on this one. Trades in terms of how I see it. I just don't. I'm just not a fan of. I guess it depends on the position, but I'm not a fan of this draft in terms of what the Jets need and where they're at. They've got the 4th and 10th pick. And we
Yeah.
talked about all the weapons in terms of receivers, but they're clearly you're not spending the 4th and 10th pick on them. So I would just see the Jets as a no-brainer, a team that has to trade down or find a way. Hopefully, there's some guys that fall that attract other teams that allow them to do so pretty painlessly. And then I'd love to see a team like I mean, obviously the Packers are just really they're looking to get weapons, right? And they're in the the mid-20s, so I'd love to see a team like that pull the trigger and finally get not finally, I guess they had Devontae Adams and whatnot, and they brought some old timers back and Jordy Nelson and Randall Cobb and whatnot. But I'd love to see them pull the trigger, get a Drake London or get a guy someone Chris Olave, somebody that can help them out day one, right? Treylon Burks, anybody, right? So yeah, Packers, maybe the Patriots, somebody that looking to trade up for a weapon that are in that kind of low 20s, mid 20s range. So what do you got?
Trade back candidates is probably the Giants might be set on chilling at 5 with the best O lineman, but their next pick they should trade back and maybe just do what we're talking about, get some ammo to move up next year from the 7th spot if they don't love what they're seeing right there. And for another team would be the Panthers. They don't gotta unless they're in love with Malik Willis and they want to stick it there to where they at. They're at the 6th spot. Just trade back a little bit.
Ugh,
They don't have a second rounder too. I think they traded for Sam Darnold. Yeah, so I say trade back,
gross.
get some picks, get those picks, trade it for Jimmy Garoppolo, a baller, a
No,
stud,
bitch.
a,
No, no,
a, a Super Bowl quarterback, a
no,
Super Bowl,
no, no,
a Super Bowl quarterback, and then trade to the Niners.
no,
So
no
you can
way.
do that. A team that should be aggressive. Texans. I mean, they got some ammo from the Browns, and I don't know what you would be aggressive for, but don't shy away. Like if you see something you like, jump up, go get it. Come on now,
Right.
don't be scared. Yeah.
Still talking about football. All right. So, yeah, yeah. So look for those teams to trade up and trade down, and then kind of towards finally we have our favorite draft classes in the last couple of years. In the last 3 years, cumulative, like what teams that do you like their draft hauls? And I think I'll just kind of start this one. And
Yeah.
I think we both kind of agree. Probably the Chargers, right? Chargers is going to probably be
Yeah.
top
Oof.
3, top 5. Anytime you get your franchise quarterback and he's projecting, to be what he's supposed to be. I mean, people are talking about, he's future Hall of Famer and whatnot already, and in year
Wow.
3, Justin Herbert. They got Asante Samuel Jr. out of Florida State, undersized, but he's just mighty. He's mighty. He's performed well. Rashawn,
Yeah.
you got Slater, obviously in
Shader,
last year's draft.
great pick.
Kenneth Murray when he's healthy, he kind of sideline to sideline linebacker there as well. So yeah, some good drafts. Obviously, I've loved the Bucks draft as well. Anytime you get a Tristan Wirfs, I mean he's been phenomenal when he's healthy. He's been how they've been able to preserve a Tom Brady, right? Obviously, we've seen what happened when their O line gets depleted or gets hurt. Brady gets a lot of hands in his faces, and he gets pretty rattled fairly quickly. And then you have Antoine Winfield, who probably should have gone in the later first round, but they somehow got him in the second round. Great pick there. They got a Keyshawn Vaughn running back in the second and third round. I'd still love, even in terms of fantasy, I'd love to see what happens if he get a wider, just an increased opportunity. And then finally, I got the Colts, right? Jonathan Taylor, some significant weapons there with Michael Pittman, and the list goes on there. So. I love what the Colts and the Bucks and Chargers have done. What about you?
I'll do the team that I'm not a fan of. I'll do the Bengals, man. They got a franchise fucking all-changing quarterback in Joe Burrow. Led him to a Super Bowl, an absolute baller. Fucking on the field, off the field, mentality, just a fucking stud. Joe Shiesty, just a baller, man. And then also, you probably got one of the best, if not the best, receiver long term, Jamar Chase. Absolute stud too. You can't ask for a better combination. They have familiarity with each other, going into college too. What the fuck is the crazy chances of that happening? And then you got Higgins, who's a top receiver, one of my favorites, as you know.
That's your baby.
Still young.
That's your baby.
He's a legit wide receiver. My little baby.
No, bitch. No.
Too. And you got Jonah. You got Jonah Williams too. Who's hurt.
Big boy, Alabama.
Able to protect Joe. And then you got McPherson, a legend in the growing.
Yeah.
Kicker. Let's go.
Yeah, for sure.
They don't have a
big balls,
class, but they got two or three foundational pieces that you could build around, and they pretty much did that between that last Super Bowl run. And then let's talk about my San Francisco 49ers. Trey Lance, he's still yet to be proven. If he hits to be a top 10 quarterback,
you can't use Trey Lance.
I'm not saying he's hit. If he hits, okay, it boosts up to upper echelon. But let's take that out of the fact. We got Ayuk, legit wide receiver 2. He started off slow. I pissed off a lot of fantasy owners off that he wasn't producing like how they drafted him to be in the top 5 to 8 rounds. But he finished strong. Deebo might be on the way out. We'll see. But with Lance, I think he'll get more targets. Anyways, Kinlaw too, a little hurt. Whatever. We'll see. Big beast. But the main two I want to focus on is Bosa. Nick Bosa. Top 5 defensive end, top 5 defensive lineman, I think. Fucking baller. And then Deebo. Top 5, top 10 receiver. They got him in the same draft class. You can't really say that about many teams that really got 2 players that are like top 5 to 7 players in their position. Where they're drafted respectively. So Niners could be better, but just based off the Bosa and Deebo picks, good job.
Yeah, I love all the picks. I don't know, someone who I watched quite a bit early on, and he had some success early on with Kinlaw. I don't know if I'm sold yet. Obviously he had the injuries and production fell off too as well.
Big.
So we'll see what happens with him. And then finally, we want to do some role playing here to conclude the episode. We wanted to ask for your son, what position in the NFL would you love for him to get drafted or play in the NFL, and why?
I'm going first. I'll
Yep,
go with
go ahead.
cor- cornerback, defensive back,
Interesting.
cornerback. Um, they're able to be drafted top 10. You don't really ever see a running back get picked top 10. Yes, quarterback, um, receiver too. Offensive, defensive linemen, they get banged up on the trenches a lot of concussions, a lot of wear and tear. You got to put added weight on your body that might or might not be healthy for you. But defensive backs, man, they get paid the top 3 to 4 franchise tag in the NFL. Pretty much top 3 tied with receiver, off by like a million or two. When their franchise tags like 16. Last year was 15, so probably this year it'll be a little closer, like 17 or 18. But franchise tag 16 million. So you get that top 3 in your roster at the positional value. You're not taking a lot of hits. My son doesn't need to take a lot of hits. You're not blamed for a lot if you're good. When you're a defensive back, yeah, you'll get beat. But
You
you're not
get
getting your
cooked.
ass. You're not getting your ass like fucking. Yeah, you'll get cooked, but it's expected. You're not going to shut down. No one's Deion Sanders. No one's Darrell Revis. Only if it's like a Super Bowl, like 10-second drive, fade into the end zone or some shit like that, and then you let him loose. And like, yeah, you'll get cooked. Yeah, you'll get cooked. But if
Yeah.
people top defensive backs get burnt for a touchdown, you know what I mean? And that's responsibility. That's just like it's gonna happen. So you can't really do anything about it. But it's safe. It's safe in football terms. You're not taking big hits. You'll take out people running
Yep.
to the edge. You're not getting banged up in the head. They get paid as a top 3 player on the field, and there's a good long term length to it on the field as a player.
Right.
If you're good, like Richard Sherman.
Right. Yep. Stay away from the legal issues. Yeah. Yeah. Left tackle. No, I'm just kidding. Fuck no, not left tackle. I guess my boy will have to see you on the field because I'm going receiver.
Receive.
Yeah, I'm going receiver. I mean,
Lock
in
you up.
today's NFL where we're airing it out, the running back position is still solid, but this is a passing league, and I want my boy to go out there running full complement, number one option, full. I want him to be, this Jalen Walker, just someone who can run, amazing, crisp route. Devontae Adams, get him out there running, A to Z, all the different routes, putting up gaudy numbers. Receivers are getting paid. You see Devontae Adams, his contract. Receivers are getting paid, and they're getting the ball early, often, and then they can burn your guys like your son on a regular basis, right? And just have some fun with it. I think receivers is a fun position to watch. Obviously there could be some injuries. Typically the injuries are non-contact, right? The weird ones. But it's just a fun position to watch in terms of me watching my boy and not having too much stress of watching him run the ball every fucking other play and him getting banged up. I love him to play receiver. That'd be fun to watch. I know for me. But that concludes our show today. Obviously, this is our NFL draft preview for 2022. Before we close it out, any last minute things to say to the people or anything before we head out? Not, I'll close this out.
Thanks for tuning in. I was gone for a couple of weeks. We're back. On talk about producing a little more content. We're gonna try to take it to another level. Try to change things to get a little crisper. But like we said, I've always said, just keep growing with us. We want to grow with you, and we'll fucking build something truly, truly special.
Absolutely. And thank you guys for listening in on audio only. Thank you guys for listening in. Always challenge you guys to share this with a friend, a family member, in the workplace, whatever the case may be. Share this episode or all of our episodes with the people you know. Also, as you can see below, our IG handle is right here. So definitely check us out on IG if you haven't already. Give us a follow. If you're watching this on YouTube, click the like or subscribe button. We're still working on our video editing skills. So
subscribe.
If somewhere out there, hit it up. Yeah, it's free to subscribe, free to like. It helps us
Hit it,
out
baby.
in terms
Hit
of
it.
getting our product out there, content out there. It helps the YouTube algorithms, and it helps us just kind of continue to grow. So thank you guys for listening in. This is to another episode of the Average Joe Sports Podcast. As always, Joe Don in LA, and then my boy Albert in Sacramento, California.